Okay, so we're going to do the third article in the research simulation task, session 2, and it is called Update on Penguin Rescue Efforts from Oil Spill in South Atlantic. And we remember from last week in class that this article has no author. And so we're going to be reading it and answering questions and then getting ready for that research simulation task. So it starts off in paragraph 1. This is a follow-up to an earlier diary about the threat posed by oil spilled by a freighter that broke up off Nightingale Island, home to approximately half of the world's endangered northern rockhopper penguin population. Here is a brief recap of key events. On March 16th, for reasons no one has been able to determine, a fully loaded freighter containing soybeans slammed into the rocks off Nightingale Island in the Tristan da Cunha archipelago, a World Heritage Site in the South Atlantic. The freighter broke in half and sank, dumping at least 1,500 tons of fuel oil in the seas, which formed a heavy oil slick around the island, threatening marine life. The penguins attracted the most attention as they are critically endangered. Because of the remote location, it took wildlife rescue teams nearly a week to reach the island by boat and set up operations. Wildlife biologists estimate that half of the 20,000 penguin colony have had some exposure to the oil, and over 300 oiled penguins have already died. Thanks to outreach and updates by marine biologist David Guggenheim, the difficult wildlife rescue operation is starting to get broader attention by NGOs. And notice they have a 1 there as a footnote. So I go down, what are NGOs? Non-governmental organizations. Remember, we read everything. Back to the article. And the media. CNN has finally covered the story. This tragedy has been filled with unsung acts of heroism, large and small. I want to sing their praises. Shortly after the freighter ran aground, the cruise ship Prince Albert and fishing vessel Edinburgh responded to the distress signal and assisted in the difficult task of evacuating the 22 crew members of the MS Olivia before it broke apart and sank. A rescue team from the Prince Albert used small platoon vessels to reach the stricken ship, navigating rough seas and rocks in the process. The crew members were brought to the Edinburgh, which was small enough to dock on the island. The residents of the island and the wildlife rescue teams have been working around the clock to save the penguins and other marine animals affected by the oil. There are 4 major tasks required to save the penguin colony and other affected wildlife. 1. Locate and retrieve oiled animals. This means using small boats in heavy seas to find the animals in the water, on rocks, and in remote coves. While plucking the penguins from the water is relatively easy, getting to the animals on sea-splashed and oil-covered rocks is quite another matter. At least over 3,000 oiled penguins have been rescued, along with seabirds and seals. 2. So I start to notice they're having a list, and they're telling us the process. 2. Treat the affected animals as quickly as possible to reduce ingestion of oil. This requires washing the feathers with detergent to remove oil and then coaxing them to drink fluids, vitamins, and charcoal to absorb ingested oil. It is a labor of love that means working every waking hour for the residents and several dozen wildlife rescue specialists. Once treated, the less severely affected penguins are taken to the island swimming pool, which has been emptied, partially filled with fresh water, and cleaned frequently. The more severely affected penguins and other seabirds are being taken to warehouses and specially built sheds. These animals require more care and observation. They also must be kept warm with heaters of infrared bulbs to prevent pneumonia. The freighter crew has been spending their time building the pens and rehabilitation sheds. Step 3. Pen and house the rest of the colony to prevent exposure to oil. With molting season ending, the penguin's instinct is to head for the seas to forage for food. Step 4. Feed the entire colony of 20,000 penguins. A large fishing vessel has been working continuously since the crisis began to fish for the penguins. The seas have been particularly rough and island residents have emptied their freezers to feed the birds. By the way, fishing is the primary occupation among residents. When they donate the contents of their freezers, they are emptying their own larders, and they have a footnote there in case I don't know what that is. It's a pantry, and wallets. Okay, so that's Article 3. No author. All right, question 18, part A. What is the meaning of ingestion as it is used in paragraph 9 of the article Update on Penguin Rescue Efforts from Oil Spill in South Atlantic? What is the meaning of the word ingestion? If I don't know, what should I do? I go back to the text. So I go back to paragraph 9. So this is step 2. Treat the affected animals as quickly as possible to reduce ingestion of oil. And then it tells about how they wash them and what they have to have them drink. Okay, so would that be A, removing from a protective covering, B, taking something into the body, C, working hard at a difficult task, or D, sticking tightly to a surface? Okay, so based off of what was happening in that particular example, to ingestion, to something to go in, we would say it's B, taking something into the body. All right, which phrase from paragraph 9 helps the reader understand the meaning of ingestion? Would it be A, treat the affected animals as quickly as possible? That doesn't help me. B, washing the feathers with detergent. That it does talk about that. C, it's a labor of love. Doesn't tell me anything. D, to drink fluids, vitamins, and charcoal. Okay, which of these involves taking something into the body? It would be D, to drink fluids, vitamins, and charcoal. So for question 18, part A, the answer is B. And then for part B, the answer is D, drink fluids, vitamins, and charcoal. All right, question 19. Now it wants us to refer to the article by Diane DiNapoli and the article that we just read. So the article by Diane DiNapoli is Article 2. So it wants us to look at Articles 2 and Articles 3. We have to make sure we pay attention because Articles 1 and 2 have the exact same title, just different authors. So for part A, it says, which statement best describes a major difference between the structure of the articles The Amazing Penguin Rescue by Diane DiNapoli and Update on Penguin Rescue Efforts from Oil Spill in South Atlantic? So it wants to know which of these describes a major difference between the two. Would it be A, an update on the penguin rescue efforts from the oil spill in South Atlantic compares and contrasts many ways people can help rescue penguins, while the article by DiNapoli focuses on only one part of the rescue process? Okay, so that's an option. Okay, option B, update on the penguin rescue efforts from oil spill in South Atlantic, that's the third article we just read, is mainly a chronological account of the oil spill itself, while the article by DiNapoli focuses on the causes and effects of the oil spill. All right, so it's saying that chronological, we know that means there's a set order in terms of time, the time frame of everything that happens, while DiNapoli looked at causes and effects. Was that what DiNapoli's article was about? Article 2, was it about causes and effects? C, update on the penguin rescue efforts from oil spill in South Atlantic, present facts to support an argument in favor of helping penguins, while the article by DiNapoli is focused mostly on opinion and emotions related to the oil spill. Okay, that's an option. Or D, update on penguin rescue efforts from oil spill in South Atlantic provides the main steps in the process. Main steps, remember steps, so that's looking good. Main steps in the process of the rescue effort, while the article by DiNapoli is a first-hand account of one person's experience. It's a first-hand account of somebody who was there. That lets me know D is the answer. It has the steps, which is how Article 3 frames everything. Step 1, you need to do this. Step 2, do that. Whereas DiNapoli's article was about somebody, she referred to herself as the penguin lady, somebody who's an expert at penguins, and her getting the call that she needed to go and help with the rescue effort. So it's a first-hand account of one person's experience. So for part A of question 19, the answer is D. All right, for part B, they want us to circle two pieces of evidence, one from each article that supports the answer in part A. Okay, so once again, they break it down by article. So A, B, or C will be an answer, and D, E, or F will be an answer. So just ignore D, E, or F and ask yourself, which of these, A, B, or C, shows a first-hand account of somebody who was involved in the rescue? Would it be A, the cargo ship MV Treasure had sunk off the coast of Cape Town? I already know. No. B, the rescuers had set up makeshift pools, which held about 100. That doesn't really do anything. C, but for me, oh me, so that this is first-hand, first person, but for me, the most inspiring part was the work of the volunteers. Answer for part B, one answer would be C, because it shows firsthand. All right, now let's look at D, E, or F. What are we going to be looking for? we're going to be looking for tasks that have to be completed, a list. So D, the penguins attracted the most attention. That doesn't. E, the crew members were brought up to the Edinburgh, which was small enough that I already know that's not it. F, there are 4 major tasks required to save the penguin colony. Okay, and then we know from the article she's going to list those. So the answer would be F. So for question 19, part A, the answer is D. And then for part B, the answers are C and F. And now it's time for research simulation task for actually writing the essay. And it says you have read 3 articles about penguin rescue efforts after an oil spill. This should sound familiar because we worked on this last week in class. Without reading the articles, we worked on how to write a thesis, a main claim, using the prompt before we read the articles. And what it does, it lists the 3 articles, and it says, write an essay explaining the similarities and differences in each article's point of view about penguin rescue efforts after an oil spill. Support your essay with information from all 3 sources. And so we wrote the thesis, and we set up our paper just like you would do scratch paper on the leap. You write the thesis at your full statement. And then we look at all 3 articles. We're looking at how they all have some kind of similarity, and then we're also looking at how their major differences are and what's the similarities and differences, not just similarities and differences in articles, but the point of view, because remember each one. So we know that the first one is from the point of view of a penguin, the one article by Lauren Tarshish. The article by Diane DiNapoli, I know from answering these questions, is a first-hand account. It's by somebody who was involved in the rescue. And then the third article is an update on everything that happened. And so the one thing they all have in common, we know, is that they're all about that same penguin rescue from an oil spill. But then they each have a different point of view. And we talked about what we would do. Remember in the introduction, there's 2 things you do to show comprehension. You're going to summarize and explain. And so we wrote 2 thick sentences that looked like an entire paragraph, and it was our introductory paragraph. The first sentence introduced all 3 articles and their authors, and then our thesis was taken from the prompt that all 3 articles had similarities and differences in the point of view about the penguin rescue after the oil spill. And then what we would do is we'd go back through the text and we would look for those similarities. And we already knew what the similarities were going to be about because they're all on the same topic. But then we would look for the differences. And we could do our body paragraphs as 1 thick paragraph on similarities, 1 thick paragraph on differences, or you could go article by article. It's up to you. So we'll look at that later. But for right now, this finishes looking at the multiple choice and fill in the blank aspects of the research simulation task. So we're done with answering the questions for session 2, and now we just need to work on the actual essay.